Okay, ladies and gentlemen, how are we all doing? My name is Zeppelin and welcome back to the channel. Now today you have read the title and you've probably seen my face before if you have been reading up about this controller. And you may be wondering, why am I making another video on it? Well, it's because I'm going milking it to death. That's why I'm making another video. But no guys, on a real, the reason why I'm actually making another video now to talk about this controller is because I have actually picked this controller back up quite recently, and the controller of course in question is the Razer Raiju Ultimate. Now for those of you who have followed me for quite a while may know that I was an avid user of the original Razer Raiju controller. I've had one since about 2016. I had a 2018 version of the Razer Raiju Ultimate, which was so broken on release and I had to return it 3 times. It just got to the point where I said, I'm not going to bother, I'm just sticking with the original. And then just actually not even a year ago, I was making controller reviews and they done quite well on the channel. So I decided to round out the trifecta, so to speak, and I reviewed the Razer Raiju Tournament Edition controller. And I have to say I was not very impressed with it, but with the price of the controller, I understood its appeal, while it may not have been for me. Now the only reason I am picking up the Razer Raiju Ultimate again and using it as my main controller is because even though I made a review on it called Razer Raiju Ultimate in 2021 or something like that anyway, it is on my channel. I talked about at the time how I was thinking of getting the controller back, and that video mainly talked about the issues that I was seeing people were having online with the controller and talking about if they have really made much of a difference with the 2019 version of the controller, because they had actually updated the controller once they realized how many issues there were with it. There was no design changes, no real changes like that. I believe they just had a software update that you actually couldn't download on your 2018 version. You had to have the 2019 version to download this software update. I don't quite know why. I think it is rather scummy that they've done that, but if you covered yourself well with the warranties with these controllers, then you would have been alright regardless. You would have been able to get rid of your 2018 version if it wasn't working and get the 2019 version at the exact same price. And apologies for going a little all over the place there. I don't really have any script for this. I'm more talking off the cuff, so if things are a bit here, there and everywhere, please forgive me for that. But the reason why I brought this up was just to go back to that 2021 Razer Raiju Ultimate video that I made. I did say in that I would maybe pick the Razer Raiju Ultimate up again as my next controller. Now since then I actually tried an Xbox Series Elite 2 controller, and for the life of me I cannot actually remember if I'd done a review of that controller on here. I actually don't think I did, and I don't know why. I really should have done that. But I actually got a used version of the controller, and there was 1 or 2 little issues with it that I had to sort of overlook when making my opinions on that controller. But ultimately I actually didn't really like it too much, even though I could tell it was a very premium controller, and I think for most people it'd be one of the best controllers on the market. I just had gotten so used to the way the Raiju played that I thought maybe I'm not even going to like any controller, and I did get rid of it. I managed to fix my Razer Raiju up and keep using it for another couple of months. But unfortunately, as of a month or 2 ago, my Razer Raiju Original finally gave out on me after 6 years of dedicated service. It was half the controller it used to be by the time it was done, but I knew when certain issues started cropping up again that it was time for me to find a permanent replacement for this controller. And what better controller to go for than one that I had given up on years ago, and seeing how they've managed to improve the controller with the 2019 version and seeing if I would even like it, because I remember liking it when I had it briefly despite its issues, but now that I had gotten so used to the original's design, I began to wonder, well, even if this is a great controller, will I like it? And will I like any other controller that isn't the original Raiju? And I do have to say that when I picked the controller up, I was skeptical upon use. First of all, I did get it used and I got it out of the box, and I got it in pretty good condition as well. I'll probably overlay some footage of the controller over this as I'm talking, but the controller came in mostly good condition. I was worried when I saw that the X seemed slightly worn on it, that it was a controller that was returned after a lot of use and it was just being sold on to another place to resell as it was nearing the end of its use. But I have to say, when I picked it up and I ran all the tests on it, making sure to try and see if there were stick drift or not, I was pleasantly surprised to see that there was little to no issue with the controller. In fact, I was pretty amazed by the input sensitivity of the sticks, as on my original Razer Raiju, for years I had some input issues with the sticks in terms of the dead zone being off. But I have to say, the dead zone on the Razer Raiju Ultimate 2019 edition is spot on. The tension is nice, it stays dead center when it's dead center, but then even if you move it just slightly, the registration of that movement through the controller is perfect. So I was really worried about that, picking up the controller used for about £85. So if you're American, you're talking maybe about $100 used, maybe a little more. I was pleasantly surprised to see that the controller seemed to be in working order despite of the fact that it was used. Now, this is actually an issue that I have mentioned before on this channel, particularly with the Razer Raiju Ultimate, but I find the design of the Razer, it's the design of the Razer Raiju tournament. God, I can't speak properly. I mentioned it in the design of my Razer Raiju tournament edition, how I did not like the way the controller held. And I still sort of have that problem with this one, in that when I'm holding in the way that I most find comfortable, my pinky fingers are slipping off the controller, and I do find that to be quite an issue at times, as I'm still trying to get used to the controller, especially in high intensity situations, because this controller has quite a soft touch feel to it in comparison to the original Raiju. It's not a hard plastic, it's a soft touch on the outside, makes it more comfortable in the long run, but it does make the hands sweatier. When the hands are sweatier and things get more slippy, having the pinky fingers slip off the bottom of the controller does present itself to be an issue. However, I believe it's one that I just have to work through, considering how long I've used the original Raiju and how long the bottom of that controller was in comparison to this one. I just become really used to that. But if I had to objectively sit here and say, in terms of how it feels in the hand, what controller I would prefer, I genuinely go for the original Raiju. While the Razer Raiju Ultimate feels more premium, without a doubt it feels more premium, the original definitely just had a fit that suited my hands perfectly. I'm 6'5", I've got rather big hands, and the original Raiju is just a perfect fit. I wouldn't recommend it for many other people. I understood why they wouldn't like it, especially with the back buttons on that controller, but they just suited me. They suited the way I wanted to hold a controller. And with this controller, I definitely feel like it's something that I will really like. It's just going to take some time, but it does feel more premium than the tournament edition of this controller. When it comes to the main reason as to why you would want to buy a controller like this, being the back buttons, they are very different to the original Raiju. However, I think the majority of people will really like them, and they already are growing on me. Again, it definitely feels like they're more premium over the predecessor to this controller, and you are going to get good use out of them. They are there, like they stick up there, you can feel them all the time when you're playing. They're easy to press, they have a nice click to them, and overall I just think it's a cool design. It's an upgrade of a design, objectively speaking, while I may not be as big of a fan of it, because I just really liked those original back buttons. The way they are now is just better for the majority of people, and I highly recommend you give them a go. A lot of the controllers, such as the Thrustmaster or the Astro C40, rely on using more just general smaller buttons, whereas this controller has the whole two back plates to press, and while you may end up pressing them by mistake from time to time, depending on how you hold the controller, I think for the most part, if you just give yourself that time to get used to it, you're going to find these buttons very beneficial, and the fact that they're so easy to press, you will be able to work into your advantage in competitive play, as you want them to be easy to click so they respond quicker. Then just to quickly run through all the other features that this controller has, which again, some of these features are things you can only get on like a 250 quid scuff controller, so keeping in mind the price difference, you are really getting a bargain here. The trigger stops on the L2 and R2 are fantastic. They lock in well. They're much easier to use and less of a hassle to set up than the original Raiju. You can set things up through the app, but mainly if you just want to get the trigger locks working, you just slip them left and right, and the hair trigger activates automatically, so they're more sensitive. You do not have to do anything with the controller on your end to activate hair triggers to get them to work properly with the trigger locks. It's all done automatically as soon as you click those two buttons at the back of the controller. Now, when it comes to the buttons 3 and 4, shall we say, in terms of the back buttons along the top of the controller, I will honestly say that while I have grown sort of used to using them through years, I find a place to use them. They are equally as useless as they have been on all previous Razer Raiju controllers. I don't know why they're there. They're in a very awkward spot. I'd be interested to actually know, do many of you use the M3 and M4 buttons as they're commonly referred to? I think that's their official name on the Razer website and instruction manual. Do you find any use out of those buttons, whether it be playing racing games or fighting games, or is it just me or FPS players that find them rarely of any use? Now finally, to go on to the title of this video, if that's why some people clicked on this video, and that being Razer Raiju Ultimate Problems. If you've watched any videos on my channel already to do with these Razer controllers, I have talked in depth about the problems that these controllers can have, and this may not be the video for you because of that, purely because using this controller, the one that I have in my possession right now, I'm running into no issues. I updated all the firmware straight away, made sure everything was in working order, and since using it, I thought I may have had stick drift once, but I think that was just a mistake on my part with getting used to the controller, because the sticks were slightly different to the original Raiju in terms of their tension and input, but I am genuinely having no issues with this controller. Now, if you're Googling this video or YouTubing this video and you have issues and you want to know if other people have them, I can almost guarantee that whatever issue you think you are having, it is a known issue with these controllers. It's quite common enough, especially with the 2018 version of these controllers, which is actually kind of hard to know which version you have, because some websites do not really make it clear. One clear way to tell actually is that if you are updating the firmware of this controller, if you cannot update past firmware version 1.04, then you have the 2018 version, but if you can go 1.04 and up, then I believe you have the 2019 version of the controller. If you're having any sort of problems with these controllers, I highly recommend, rather than doing any tampering with them yourself, that if you have a warranty you can claim on them, whether that be a 2-year warranty from CEX or straight from the manufacturer or whatever, use it and go through the hassle of getting the controller replaced, because you do not want to do anything that risks voiding a warranty and you're there stuck with an expensive hunk of junk, which is what these can be, especially if you buy them new, which is close to 150-200 pounds. Even though I'm loving this controller the way it is now, I would not pay that for it. I got it on a good deal, £85 used, it works well, and I would not really go above £100 for a controller of this quality unless it is guaranteed to work well. But if you are having any issues with these controllers still, while I have not mentioned many issues here, again, look at my other videos on my channel, I go way more in depth on them. If you're having any problems with your controller, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will try to direct you as best as I can in terms of how to fix the problem. But the majority of the time I'm just going to tell you to either maybe reset the controller, update the firmware, or cash in on its warranty, because there's not really much else you can do with these without risking ruining the warranty, avoiding it, and trust me, you do not want that. But let me know what you guys thought of the video. Please make sure to leave a like if you found this informative on the state of the controller as we come into 2022, at the end of 2021. Now that I finally got my hands on it again, as of recently, I was able to make a more in-depth review of how good I feel the controller is. I think I said leave a comment already, probably did. Make sure to leave a comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, turn notification bells on, all of that. And when it comes to actually reviewing controllers in future, I may do an Xbox Elite Series controller review in future, purely because I meant to do one, I believe, when I had that controller and never got around to it. But I do have opinions on the controller that I feel like are worth sharing. But then beyond that, I don't really see myself doing any more reviews on other controllers, because I actually don't have any to review or any need to get new controllers. I mean, I could potentially get a controller purely for review purposes, but I'm not exactly minted here, so it'll be ones I'd have to return. But if that's something that would interest you, if you want to see more in the controller market and you like my take on things when it comes to controllers, then make sure to let me know and I will consider it. If there is an attention there to be grabbed, I will definitely do it. But that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.